really what this reading is about and how you can apply it to the modern era is to think about how, you know, we can be a couch potato and just be very comfortable and cozy binge watching Netflix all day. Or you could think of some video gamer who's just kind of hanging out by his computer. And the idea is there's no real suffering to the body or the mind. And because of that, she calls it a kind of absence of pain, right? An absence of pain. And it, there's no development or cultivation, right? So Hannah Arendt says this. She says, the happiness achieved in isolation from the world and enjoyed within the confines of one's own private existence can never be anything but the famous absence of pain, a definition on which all variations of consistent sensualism must agree. Hedonism, the doctrine that only bodily sensations are real, is but the most radical form of a non-political, totally private way of life. And so it's this idea that we can kind of lock ourselves away from everyone and everything and be very bodily comfortable, and we can be highly entertained, um, and there's really no stress or pain involved. And it's a kind of hedonism, right? This idea that the most important things in life have to do with comfort and pleasure and bodily sensation. The opposite of that would be a kind of stoicism, right? Which would suggest that we need to take on extreme sufferings because that will lead to meaning in our lives. Uh, she continues, and this is merely elaboration, so I'm just going to move through it. Normally, absence of pain is no more than the bodily condition for experiencing the world. Only if the body is not irritated and through irritation thrown back upon itself can our bodily senses function normally, receive what is given to them. Absence of pain is usually felt only in the short intermediate stage between pain and non-pain, and the sensation which corresponds to the sensualist concept of happiness is release from pain rather than its absence. The intensity of this sensation is beyond doubt. It is indeed matched only by the sensation of pain itself. The mental effort required by philosophies, which for various reasons wish to liberate man from the world, is always an act of imagination in which the mere absence of pain is experienced and actualized into a feeling of being released from it. She continues. It seems to me that certain types of mild and rather frequent drug addictions, which usually are blamed upon the habit-forming properties of drugs, might perhaps be due to the desire to repeat the once experienced pleasure of relief from pain with its intense feeling of euphoria. And so what are like the mild and rather frequent drug addictions? I mean, I think alcohol, marijuana, I think stuff too, like the anti-anxiety drugs are a really good example, like Adderall or I mean, I think some of the reducing the pain of the mind, right? Depression is pain of the psyche. So the antidepressants are probably in there somewhere as well. And I mean, I think the idea is, right, rather than confronting the pain of existence, and we, I'm not trying to be judgmental here, right? I mean, people to loosen up the mood will have a couple of beers, right? It takes away the pain of anxiety. And I mean, like marijuana too, as a relaxing substance, perhaps. I don't know, right? But this idea that, alleviation of pain is what we're after. Hannah Arendt asserts it is characteristic of all theories that argue against the world-giving capacity of the senses that they remove vision from its position as the highest and most noble of the senses and substitute touch or taste, which are indeed the most private senses, that is, those in which the body primarily senses itself while perceiving an object. And so like hedonism, you could think of like the sins of gluttony or lust or something like that, right? The pleasures of touch and taste, those are private senses. And she's saying that hedonism tends to privilege those senses, touch and taste. Whereas, vision and hearing, those are different senses, and they kind of they privilege a different kind of aesthetic. So if we were to like see beautiful things, we would be forced to kind of climb mountains and look at sunsets and experience wonderful pictures and paintings and things like that. And if we were to hear beauty, well, we'd want to surround ourselves with like forms of really good prose and poetry as well as wonderful music, right? And so it's different. If you're like a hedonist, you really like what feels good to the body. I mean, that's it. In terms of taste and touch, and those are different senses entirely, and what they privilege in terms of sight and hearing. Okay, all of these test questions are colored within the respective slides.